Okay, so on this question, we have two fractions added up equal to another fraction. It's going to be kind of a more challenging one. So how do we handle fractions with an equal sign? How do we handle fractions with an equal sign? Well, step number one is we have to factor any denominators that are not factored. In fact, this one right here, multiply, add, multiply. In fact, I should do it right here. That needs to be factored first. So that one is going to be 2 parentheses. What multiplies to be x squared? X times x. What multiplies to be 15? 5 times 3. How can you get -2 in the middle? Remember, the sign in the middle goes on the bigger. -5 plus 3. So -5 plus 3, those add to be -2 in the middle. They multiply to be -15. Perfect. So factor denominators, check. Got it. Step number 2. Multiply all the terms on the on both sides by the LCD over 1. And what is the LCD? You might remember it's 1 of each type of item under a bar, no repeats. So in other words, you look what's under the bar. These are the things under the bar, right? And so we have an x plus 3, an x minus 5, another x minus 5, and another x plus 3. No repeats. We just use 1 of each type of item under the bar and put LCD over 1. So let's do that. So I'm going to go x plus 3. It doesn't matter what order. X minus 5 over 1. And then right here in the middle, x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1. And right here, x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1. Does that make sense? LCD over 1 to all the terms on both sides. So x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1, x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1, x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1. And then step 3, cancel all denoms. Cancel all denominators. So x plus 3 cancels x plus 3. What does that leave? What's left over? These guys, which is x times x minus 5 plus. And then here, x minus 5 cancels x minus 5. What's left over? 1 x plus 3 equals, and over here, both these cancel. It's kind of nice. What's left over? Just the minus 12x plus 12. All right, isn't that nicer? No more fractions because we canceled all denominators. All right, so now what do we do? Well, now let's just distribute. So I get x squared minus 5x, and then distribute 1x plus 3, and over here minus 12x plus 12. All right, so we get to there, and now what are we going to do? Well, let's start combining some stuff. Like, let's combine these two. So this will be x squared minus 4x, and the other side minus 12x. So just combine those, right? They made minus 4x, right? Minus 5 and plus 1 is minus 4x. Now notice we have an x squared. We have an x squared. So what do we do when we have x squared with an equals? It's been a long time since we've had this, back in, I forget which chapter, but what we have to do is first, you have to get 0 on one side. Whenever x squared with an equal sign pops up, x squared with an equal sign, first step is to get 0 on one side. So I'm going to, here's the wall of separation here. Put that in for us. Keep that going down. So we're going to come in here and we're going to go plus 12x and minus. So see how that's going to cancel both those, and whatever you do to one side, you have no choice but to do the same thing to the other. So see how these will both cancel, and that'll give me 0 over here. That'll get 0 on one side by doing the opposite. And then what happens on the other side? X squared, these two right here make plus 8x. And these two right here make minus 9. Like that. So step one, get 0. Second step is factor with the 2 parentheses. So I'm going to go, okay. And so I'm going to do like 2 parentheses equals 0. And remember how it works. You want to find what's going to multiply, add, that was a funny add there. Add, so multiply, add, and then for this guy, multiply. So x is in the front, multiply to be x squared. What multiplies to be 9? 1 times 9. And how do the signs go? Sign in the middle goes on the bigger. Remember that? So plus 9 minus 1 makes plus 8, adds to be plus 8 in the middle, and those multiply to be minus 9. So we factor. Right there, that's the second step. And then the third thing we do is each part equals 0 and solve. So each part separately gets its own 0. So x minus 1 separately equals 0, or x plus 9 separately equals 0. Now, why is that? Well, because if 2 things are multiplied, these are parentheses, aren't they? So that means they're timesing. So if 2 things are timesing to equal 0, that means either one could be 0, right? If I said to you, I'm timesing 2 numbers in my head, and it's coming out 0. That means one of those 2 could be 0. The first one could be 0, because 0 times anything it would be 0. Or the second one could be 0, because anything times 0 would be 0, right? So that just means the first one's 0, or the second one's 0, and then solve. Just solve those 2 little equations. So add 1 to both sides, boom, and x is 1, and subtract 9 from both sides, boom. So x is minus 9. So we got 2 answers, positive 1 and minus 9. Let's go back up here. And and so it's 1 and minus 9. 2, you choose this option right here. 2 answers, 1 and minus 9. And you could put them in either order. You could put the minus 9 first and then the 1. It doesn't matter. Just separate them with a comma. It says separate with commas if there's more than one solution. So 1 and minus 9. Let's run over that again. So what did we do first? We had to factor denominator. So this denominator, multiply, add, multiply, had to be factored here. Then we multiply through by the LCD over 1. And the LCD is, 1 of each type of item under the bar. No repeats. So x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1, x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1, x plus 3, x minus 5 over 1. Then we canceled the denominators. I canceled and brought down what was left over, multiplied it out. And then all of a sudden there was like, oh, it's x squared with an equal sign. That's a whole different game plan. As soon as x squared with an equal sign shows up, rears its ugly head, so to speak, we go into a whole new game plan. We go, oh, okay, that means you got to get a 0. So I did the opposite of all these guys here to get a 0 on one side, and then factor the other side with the parentheses. And then each part gets its own 0, because if 2 things multiply to be 0, either one could be 0, and then solve for x. And we got 2 answers. There we go.